From totally unreasonable petty crimes
I quit!
to absolute lawlessness.
Get your torches! Pitchforks! Can't be an angry mob without pitchforks!
When it comes to chaos, Bikini Bottom is wilder than the Wild West, but is the Krabby Patty-obsessed city really lawless, or just aggressively unsupervised? Today I'm putting on my detective hat, badge not included, and breaking the city down into 5 key segments to find out exactly how Bikini Bottom laws work. From law enforcement to corruption to whatever is rotting at the bottom of it all. Starting off with the law enforcement, which, let's be real, looks like they have way too much free time on their hands. They're not the best, but it is the quickest way for us to know what's allowed in the city and what isn't allowed in the city. And first up on that list is reckless driving. Now, you don't need a PhD in SpongeBob lore to guess who the poster child for reckless driving is in this town.
The driving test is over, SpongeBob. Stop the boat.
Wait, I can do this, Mrs. Puff. I can do this.
Oh!
Yeah, no surprise there. Just another peaceful afternoon where Mrs. Puff questions every life decision that led her to opening a boating school as her entire pufferfish existence flashes before her very eyes. But this isn't one of those times where SpongeBob only wrecks just his school. SpongeBob is out on an actual road, a public road, or at least attempting to locate it, and the Bikini Bottom police doesn't play about their town.
Barnacles, did you see that?
Yeah, that guy had no front license plate. Let's get him!
Hey, look at all those police.
No idea where that whole convoy pulled up from, but that just about proves their response time is insane. And the fact they stay on his tail for the entire time is very impressive. Because keeping up with SpongeBob's driving requires elite training. Somewhere in that patrol car better be a Vin Diesel fish gripping the wheel because justice was served fast and furious.
You're under arrest. You can't arrest him.
We're not talking about him.
But I don't belong here. It's all a big mistake.
Poor Mrs. Puff. Honestly, we could make an entire separate video just like on her catching federal charges for crimes she didn't even commit. Free my girl. But for today's investigation, we'll just thank her for unintentionally teaching us exactly what the Bikini Bottom Police Department is not okay with. Which brings us to the only time SpongeBob actually passed his driving test.
Well, you crossed the county line 3 miles back. You, ma'am, are a parole violator, which makes this test null and void. I'll take that.
Yeah, so violating your parole is a no-no in Bikini Bottom, and right next to that is another crime the police absolutely do not play with. We even have a repeat offender in our midst. And no, for once it's not Squidward's clarinet committing crimes against humanity.
Is this yours? Yes. Some people never learn.
Yep. Littering. Imagine getting a ticket for accidentally dropping your first ticket. I mean, if they can't stop humans from polluting the ocean, the least they can do is clamp down on the bottomites actively trashing their own backyard. And I can't blame them because some of these littering sprees are just ridiculous. You know it's serious when the city has a separate department just for catching litter bugs, not the regular patrol. And you also know it's messed up on a legendary level when it's not the ticket guy that comes for you. Because of that whole mess, the Krusty Crew is punished with cleaning the entire city. The next punishable crime is one committed by none other than SpongeBob and Patrick. They commit the most heinous crime.
What's the problem here? Well, it appears these two stole a balloon.
What are you gonna do to us?
If you can't do the time, don't do the crime. Okay, time's up.
That's gotta be a world record for shortest time in jail for stealing, but that's better than some of the other crimes of Bikini Bottom that have you staring at coal bars for months and years on end. And because Squidward's luck is permanently set to terrible, he somehow ends up adding grand theft to his list of crimes.
That hooligan ran a stop sign!
Stop, thief!
You know that guy?
Hardly. He stole my wallet. What?
Running a red light, which somehow snowballs into stealing. A crime within a crime. What's even funnier is that he gets sentenced to 10 years behind bars. But don't worry, I'll be diving into the legal system later, because once you actually look at how their courts operate, the chaos starts to make a little too much sense. But not all these crimes make even a lick of sense.
All right, you two, you're under arrest.
What for?
Unlicensed use of a sitar.
But my grandma gave me the sitar. It didn't come with a license.
Kinda makes me wonder if Squidward needs a license for his clarinet, but judging from SpongeBob's reaction, I can definitely tell that it's not so common a law. Speaking of petty crimes, we've got absolutely unhinged behavior that we see in Someone's in the Kitchen with Sandy after Plankton steals Sandy's fur to get SpongeBob to spill the tea on the formula. Thanks to that, Sandy has to go around town trying to find her fur.
Hey, look! A hairless goat!
So now Sandy's running around town basically de-squirrelified when she could have just worn her spacesuit, but what do I know? I'm just a guy with a YouTube channel. Anyway, just when Plankton is this close to finally getting what he came for, he gets his amoeba-sized butt handed to him, and Sandy gets her fur back, but not without some consequences.
We'll take that sicko off your hands.
Cops! Thank goodness you're here.
We're referring to you, ma'am. Public nudity is against the law in this county.
They really traced her hairless self all the way to the Krusty Krab just to enforce the law. So yeah, Bikini Bottom definitely has laws. The only problem, they're not always enforced properly. And that's where things start to get messy, which brings us to the next segment. Gross incompetence. Time and time again, the Bikini Bottom police throw reasoning and basic training straight into the sea. Starting with Party Pooper Pants, where SpongeBob decides to throw a party but gets so obsessed with making it perfect that he ends up becoming, well, the Party Pooper.
Schedule, 10 o'clock p.m. Dance your pants off. 10 o'clock p.m.
Yowzers, but I get it. Planning an event and watching it fall apart in real time? Oh yeah, very painful. So while trying to keep everything running smoothly, SpongeBob steps outside his pineapple and immediately gets himself locked out. Luckily, the cops show up, and you'd think after he explains the situation that they'd help him out, but no, they do the exact opposite.
If you're throwing a party, why weren't we invited?
Is it too late to offer you some punch?
Sir, you have the right to remain silent.
Being arrested in a pillory is one thing, but being arrested because you didn't invite the cops to your party, that's not law enforcement, that's a power trip. And mind you, SpongeBob spends the entire night behind bars. Oh, and take note of those officers, John and Nancy, because they might just be the poster children for arbitrary arrests and straight-up incompetence.
Take that, you zombie!
I'll take it from here.
Die, zombie!
Good police work, Officer Nancy.
The two of them make the perfect duo for unlawful arrests. Even in Little Yellow Book, after Squidward shatters SpongeBob's squishy little heart by reading his diary.
Wait a second. You're that diary reader. Come on, fella! We have a special place for people like you.
Diary reader!
What?
Yeah, that happens. What is their obsession with pillory anyway? I mean, sure, Squidward kind of deserves something for being a total jerk, but getting arrested for reading a diary isn't law enforcement. It's just Officer Nancy taking it out on Squidward as payback for childhood trauma. And when Nancy's not available, Officer John gets himself another partner to make his petty arrests with, and their victim is still Squidward after he gets stuck in an elevator.
Are you Squidward Tentacles?
Yes?
We've been looking for you. We're the library police. You have a withdrawn book that is now 30 seconds overdue. You're going to library jail.
Well, at least they're saved from the elevator. The alarming part is that we haven't even gotten to wrongful arrests due to poor investigations, and this goes back to as early as the second season in the Smoking Peanut. After the Zoo Oyster gets its pearl stolen, the Bikini Bottom Police Department jumps on the case to find the culprit.
Wow, you guys are good. I'm the last person I would have suspected, but I was looking for me all the time.
Turns out Patrick was innocent all along, though to be fair, it's hard to tell if a guy who can't even tell if he's innocent is actually guilty. And even SpongeBob isn't safe from this nonsense. In Cave-Dwelling Sponge, he accidentally frees a prehistoric sponge who proceeds to wreck the entire town. And because the cops only know one sponge, they waste zero time blaming him.
Why did you have to go nuts on company time, boyo?
I didn't go nuts, Mr. Krabs. They must have mistaken me for someone else. I'm innocent.
Can't lie, if it weren't for the Stone Age getup, I'd see the resemblance too. But when they're not busy making wrongful arrests, they swing all the way to the other extreme and become so negligent it looks dumb. No crime, no investigation, just bizarre law enforcement.
What have you got in there? Quasi-gummy, chewy candy fish. By eating your own kind, cuff him.
Arresting the dude for eating candy shaped like a fish and calling it cannibalism is just crazy. It's like being arrested for eating the human-shaped Sour Patch Kids. Funny thing is, that's not even the dumbest thing they've done. In Goo Goo Gas, Plankton creates a gas that reverts the aging process to turn Mr. Krabs and the rest of the Krusty Krab staff into helpless babies, so he can, you guessed it, steal the secret formula. The good part is he gets caught at the beginning of the plan, but the bad news...
For me, these primitive shackles are no match for my genius! That was easy.
If I said that was the dumbest thing they've ever done, I'd be lying, because just one season later in Krabby Road, Plankton gets arrested again and somehow slips right under their noses.
He's gone! He's so small he could be anywhere.
He could be right under our noses.
Honestly, keeping him in a water bottle would be more secure than whatever system they're running. And if the cops are moving like this, it makes you wonder how their boss, the literal chief of police, handles all this injustice. Allow me to introduce you to Al Gristlepuss, who made his debut in Band in Bikini Bottom alongside his wife, Miss Gristlepuss, or you might remember her like this.
It's shameless, disgusting. Avert your eyes.
I see why she's Miss and not Mrs. even though she's married. And after seeing SpongeBob's permanently happy demeanor, she decides Krabby Patties are simply too fun and too delicious to be legal, because obviously that's the real threat to society. And what other way to implement that than to involve her darling husband?
Thanks again, Al.
Anytime, honey. I'm starving.
I just love that man.
In less than 10 seconds of his appearance, Gristlepuss has already abused his authority to officially ban Krabby Patties and close down the Krusty Krab. Not just that, dude literally delegated his authority as chief of police to his wife to use as she see fits. But Mr. Krabs ain't gonna let Nanny McPhee stop him from making money, so he opens a secret Krusty Krab inside SpongeBob's pineapple house, but it don't end there.
You missed one.
Oh, Miss Gristlepuss, I'm sorry we sold Krabby Patties, but do you really have to send us to jail?
The chief of police and his wife end up making unlawful arrests and raids in the blink of an eye. Luckily, he gets what's coming to him in Dirty Bubble Returns.
Stand back, coppers, and face your attack, or I'll make your police chief my late-night snack.
And that's pretty much the last we see of him. Those were his only 2 appearances. Since Bikini Bottom apparently doesn't have a police commissioner to answer for any of this, we might as well slide over to the judiciary, starting with none other than Judge Horace A. Whopper, who first appeared when Krabs gets arrested for serving people patties that turn them yellow.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. We, the jury, find the defendant, Eugene A. Krabs, guilty of all charges.
You'd think that with the jury's verdict and first-hand witnesses to the crime, Krabs would be sent to the slammer, but no. At the last minute before his sentence, Krabs offers Judge Horace an offer he just couldn't refuse.
Take him around there as many times as you like.
I just might have to take you up on that.
But with this much incompetence baked into the system, maybe it's not just rogue officers, maybe it starts at the top. Maybe the commissioner's the problem, and the dysfunction just trickles down the entire force. And even he answers to someone. That someone being the mayor. For those of you who didn't already know, yes, Bikini Bottom has a mayor, and over the course of the show, we've seen 3 of them. First up, the purple fish with a flat top, haircut, and green suit, we'll just call him Mr. Mayor. He makes his first appearance in the courtroom meeting for the construction of a superhighway through Bikini Bottom.
Now, all those in favor of paving over jellyfish fields and building the Shelley Superhighway, raise your right fin and say aye.
Aye!
The next time he shows on screen is in Spongecano, after a volcano starts erupting out of nowhere. Once more, the citizens of Bikini Bottom cram together to brainstorm how exactly a bunch of fish plan on stopping a natural disaster.
I've got something.
Yes, boy. How do you propose we stop the volcano?
Actually, I just had a question about these parking tickets.
So you see, he was mostly there to represent comical authority. Same thing with the current purple-headed mayor.
I officially declare today Sunday!
And when she's not making a grand entrance that involves kicking babies out of the way, she's popping up in Patrick's comatose fantasy instead.
In honor of becoming the greatest bicyclist who has ever lived, I present you the key to Bikini Bottom.
The only real difference between her and the other mayors is the enthusiasm. Next up is the unnamed green and occasionally blue mayor with the top hat that most people are more familiar with. He served as both the mayor of Bikini Bottom and the mayor of New Kelp City, and even his debut on the show screams incompetence loud enough to rupture your eardrums.
Take pride that I officially open this unfinished bridge.
I can't even call it incompetence anymore. It's almost like he's trying to rage bait us. And when he's not doing that, he's sticking his nose into Krusty Krab business like he doesn't already have a mountain of unfinished city projects to deal with. After the Krusty Krab launches its drive-thru, it turns out to be a lot more trouble than Mr. Krabs expected. So naturally, the next person to get involved is the mayor.
The whole town is at a standstill because your drive-thru is so slow.
Don't you worry, Mr. Mayor. There's an answer for that, too. There you go!
Okay, getting involved is a stretch because all he really does is take Mr. Krabs' half-baked solution the second he hears there's still money to be made from it. Which is fracking disappointing because the city's been attacked by a bullworm, overrun by jellyfish swarms, and a dozen other disasters, and he's nowhere to be seen. But traffic at the Krusty Krab? Oh, suddenly the mayor's very concerned. And even when he does show up for public events, it still manages to go sideways, like the time Patrick entered a pet competition with a pet rock.
His name is Rolly.
What does it do?
The funny part of all these shenanigans is that Patrick actually won. And this isn't the first time Mr. Mayor has handed out awards to people who absolutely didn't earn them. In Food Con Castaways, the crew gets stranded on their way to Food Con and slowly starts losing their minds from hunger, even though they still have one last patty left.
I'm just hungry and tired, and I feel like I'm all alone doing the right thing, and I'm...
But I'm hungry!
It takes everything in their blood, bones, and mostly SpongeBob's determination to stop them from eating it. And just when they finally make it to Food Con, not a second too soon, things immediately go sideways because Patrick had other plans.
Oh, this is the most complex, organic, irresistible flavor I have ever had the pleasure of tasting.
Absolutely diabolical that he'd choose a makeshift patty made out of grass and dirt over other restaurants. But what can I expect from the guy who was mayor of Kelp City for 20 years? The place ended up barren and run by whoever these guys are. The dude let a gang of wannabe Elvis Presleys run an entire town, and the most mind-blowing part, SpongeBob accidentally defeats them, and the mayor hands over his position in the blink of an eye. Let's not also forget all the gross incompetence I talked about earlier happened under his tenure. But what if none of it was accidental? What if he's being completely useless on purpose? That would only mean one thing. Mr. Mayor is a corrupt politician, and you can see a hint of that in porous pockets. When SpongeBob and Patrick stumble across a sick clam that leaves them with a little surprise.
Patrick, the clam had a baby!
That's not a baby, SpongeBob. What's white and round and comes out of clams?
Their eyes?
No, silly! A volleyball!
For a second there, I thought he was about to say, you know what? Never mind. The two of them haul their extremely heavy volleyball to the court. Thankfully, a shady guy working in the appraisals immediately recognizes that their volleyball is actually a clam. And with that in mind, he offers them a deal that even the dumbest rock wouldn't refuse. Can't lie, I was half expecting the guy to just hand them 2 volleyballs in exchange for the pearl because these two clearly don't care about the value of money. And true to form, they spend the next couple of days doing the same things they always do, just with pockets full of cash. But all that sudden wealth draws a lot of unwanted attention, and oh boy did money change SpongeBob.
SpongeBob!
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
SpongeBob, I gotta tell you something I think you should know. Your house is full of strangers.
Goodbye to the dream of being a humble fry cook earning an honest living. Anyway, don't let all that money distract you from the mayor, who's right there in the crowd of frackin' butt kissers, which just shows he's the type to be influenced by money and accept a bribe, even with his high status. And sure enough, the second the money disappears, so does he.
Well, everyone, I just checked and, well, it's just that all my money is gone.
Don't be late for work tomorrow, boy.
They left even faster than they showed up, but at least everything goes back to normal for SpongeBob and Patrick. Sure, the whole thing teaches a few moral lessons, but it also shows just how easy it is to buy your way into the mayor's favor. And the best way to see that is through our favorite frenemy duo, Plankton and Mr. Krabs. If there's one thing the two of them have in common besides overbearing mothers, is that they're both rich and both commit crimes. A perfect example is in Greasy Buffoons after they both poison their customers with grease.
They've been feeding people grease. They've been feeding people. They've been feeding people.
What's going on here?
Nothing, Mr. Inspector.
I've been feeding people.
The two of them walk away with nothing more than a warning to clean up their mess. No real criminal consequences, and let's not forget, the entire city could have been puking their guts out if SpongeBob hadn't called the health inspector. And that's just the crimes they committed together. Both of them have racked up plenty of solo offenses and still gotten away with it, starting with Mr. K, who once tried to commit murder.
Oh, look at him suffer.
I bet if that guy hadn't turned out to be the real inspector, or if he had actually died, Mr. Krabs wouldn't have felt bad for a second. And even when they're literally spotted at a gravesite at some unholy hour of the night, the cops still don't suspect a thing. Now sure, we could blame that on incompetence, but it's awfully convenient that even after Krabs basically confesses to the murder, the cops still play dumb.
Hey, maybe he turned into a zombie and walked out.
It's a zombie!
You guys. Take that, you zombie!
At that point, it almost looks like they were trying to finish the job, because Krabs never gets fined for attempted murder or for trying to dispose of a body. The guy commits so many villainous crimes and still gets away with them, and we all laugh it off because it makes his whole greedy routine look kind of funny. Which I'm not saying it isn't, but sometimes his greed crosses into straight up inhumane levels of territories. Like when he tastes SpongeBob's jelly patties made from jellyfish and immediately decides they should go on the menu. Of course, not without making a few sacrifices along the way.
What kind of monster is responsible for this horror?
That's it, boys. Keep that gelatinous gold a-flowing.
Even though they're basically all fish, that still counts as animal cruelty, and SpongeBob's got VIP knowledge of a lot of his crimes. I bet if he weren't so SpongeBob-y, he'd be making a fortune off hush money. Because Krabs will stop at absolutely nothing, and I do mean nothing, to make $1.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money?
Of course I am.
I want to say grave robbery is low even for Mr. K, but then I remembered he once almost sold SpongeBob for less than $1, so maybe nothing's really off the table for this guy. So let's move on to the rare moments where Mr. Krabs actually gets punished for his crimes, starting with Patty Caper, where the whole episode revolves around finding out who stole the Krabby Patty formula, only for it to turn out that the thief was Mr. Krabs himself. Also, we could avoid paying a $1.99 delivery fee. And for dragging everyone into that ridiculous lie, the court comes up with the perfect punishment.
Step right up and get your free Krabby Patties.
Yeah, not a bad punishment for framing your own employees for theft. Maybe that's why he tries everything humanly possible to make up for the loss, because I still can't wrap my head around why Krabs decides to turn the Krusty Krab into a prison. And the dumbest part, the moment he realizes it's not entirely as profitable as he thought, he just decides to release all the prisoners. Of course, that's a massive crime, yet once again, instead of throwing him behind bars like every other inmate, they come up with some lighter, creative punishment just for him.
Mealtime, prisoner! Open the mouth!
And seeing how he's a very successful man and how easy it was for him to bribe a judge out of serving prison time, it only makes sense. Now, Plankton, on the other hand, might not be a successful restaurant owner, but considering how smart he is and how he somehow keeps funding his endless failing attempts to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula, it's safe to say he's probably loaded too. But besides stealing the formula, Plankton's committed other arrestable yet questionable crimes.
Poetry, love notes, nothing's working!
I'm less surprised at the fact that he thought that would work and more surprised at the fact that it did. But if you think destroying half the city just to make your enemy's mother fall in love with you isn't a massive crime, but that's just how deep the corruption goes. And it's not limited to just Plankton and Krabs either. Even other wealthy and socially elite citizens use cops however they see fit.
No unibrow. Squidward Q Tentacles, I'm placing you under arrest for impersonating a genius.
I bet Squiddy wishes he had enough money to bend the rules like that, because Squidward and even Sandy have been ticketed for public nudity. Meanwhile, I could draw Plankton naked from memory and nobody bats an eye. And when the rich influence the law becomes that normal, there's really only one word for it: aristocracy. Here, I'll be talking about the elite of the elites in Bikini Bottom and how they live their lives, from fancy houses and restaurants to private clubs.
With him, it's not that I mind the macaroni. What I mind is...
Sorry about that, SpongeBob. Won't happen again.
No matter, he's simply jealous of my glamorous new lifestyle.
So as we've seen, influencing government is definitely on their to-do list, but there's more than one way to make an impact because many of these elites sway the system with their wealth, others do so with their blood. And by that I mean royal blood. Which brings us to the history book of Bikini Bottom, starting with the episode Rule of Dumb, where the truth about Patrick's heritage comes to light.
Hold in my hands is a family tree that goes back centuries. Ends at you, Sir Patrick, which makes you a descendant of royalty. You are a king.
When I first watched that episode, I was just as shocked as Patrick was because absolutely nothing about him screams royalty, but as they say, with great power comes great responsibility, and Patrick manages to be irresponsible in ways no one thought possible. Not only does he abuse his brand new authority, but he also turns into a complete jerk, freeloading even more than usual and abusing each and every person and business in Bikini Bottom. And he does such a terrible job that even his trusted right-hand man SpongeBob deserts him immediately, and not a second too soon because it's exactly when the real truth comes out.
I've discovered this coffee stain, which, upon removal, reveals that Sir Gary is the true heir to the king's crown.
Well, would you look at that? Gary, you're royalty!
To be fair, Gary makes a better king, but finding out that Patrick and Gary are first cousins in royalty answers questions we didn't know we needed to ask. It also explains how Patrick, despite being a professional freeloader, still manages to live somewhat comfortably instead of begging in the streets of the sea. And it also might explain why SpongeBob gets arrested for tearing up Patrick's license, while Patrick walks away from this.
Look out!
All of that, and still zero consequences. So if Gary's a king, then who the hell is King Neptune? The easiest way to understand this is to think of Bikini Bottom as like a country and try to ignore the fact that everyone in it is a fish. Even though King Neptune is a god who basically transcends mortality, we barely see him compared to rulers like the mayor or even Gary. And that's because he's not the king of Bikini Bottom, he's the king of the entire sea. And he's got a lot more to worry about.
So I say, look, Zeus, either you come up with more money or Neptune walks.
But besides Neptune, Patrick, and Gary, there are other royals in Bikini Bottom you never expect. Long before King Amoeba, another family used to run the place, and they were none other than Mr. Krabs' ancestors. In Dunces and Dragons, SpongeBob and Patrick land so hard on their heads that they end up back in the past where everyone says thou and half the men are wearing skirts. But more importantly, we get to see the ancestors of all our favorite characters.
Oh, blast this confounded instrument! If I never learn to play with ease, may mine own great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson be cursed tenfold!
That explains a lot. Not just why Squidward's miserable, but also why he never gets any special treatment. While everyone else comes from some royal bloodline, he comes from a line of court jesters, which explains the dry sarcasm too. Anyway, their timing couldn't have been worse because they show up right when the kingdom is facing a problem even the king can't solve.
What to do?
Father, what art thou going on about now?
Oh, just the same old thing, dear daughter. It's that wretched wizard, Planktonomore. His insidious dragons destroyed half the kingdom. Soon there will be no citizens to tax.
Some bloodlines never change because even in this situation, King Krabs is still more concerned about having citizens to tax, and Plankton's ancestor is still the villain of the story. To make things worse, Planktonomer's jellyfish dragon kidnaps Princess Pearl, leaving King Krabs with no choice but to send SpongeBob and Patrick out on a rescue mission, one that exposes them to all kinds of threats, but also a few new ancestral friends along the way.
Medieval Sandy. I know how to handle this with a little karate.
By the hammer of Odin, this be a new fighting style mine eyes have not yet seen.
I'm just gonna assume Sandy's ancestor was breathing underwater thanks to some kind of medieval magic. Luckily, Knight Sandy was no match for the futuristic power of karate, and after her defeat, she ended up helping them to take on Planktonomer. Though calling it a battle was a stretch, it was more like a bribe.
Do it now or so help me!
I'd be more than happy to make you some more of those delicious Krabby Patties.
Curses!
Good to see Krabby Patties have the same effect in every era. Anyway, thanks to our heroic duo, King Krabs gets to rule for a little while longer before eventually losing his throne, and the line of succession changes. But he definitely didn't give up that throne without making a few more powerful connections for his lineage, and getting a little something out of the whole ordeal.
Order up! I doth wonder if I could sell these, Krabby Patties.
Typical Krabs in a pretty typical real-world scenario, too. Plenty of countries have former nobles who don't hold the throne anymore, but still manage to exert quite a lot of influence behind the scenes. And I highly doubt Mr. Krabs is the only one. For all we know, there are plenty of elite families in Bikini Bottom with deep pockets and even deeper ties to the city, which means there could very well be a shadow government of nobles and elites quietly pulling the strings from behind the scenes, and we might not ever know. So, to answer the question, how do Bikini Bottom laws work? Bikini Bottom is definitely a city with laws, but as we've seen, those laws often depend on who the guilty party is. So if you ever get reborn as a fish, just pray you're born into money. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching.